Good morning, everybody. It's me, Andrea, and it's 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. Thanks for joining me here for 30 days of movement and mindfulness. So what I kind of aim for this to be is a little bit of a routine or a ritual, if you'd like, to give you a little bit of structure to start your day and your morning, which I find really helpful for myself. If there's something that I know I'm going to do every day, that's really quite straightforward and easy to do, it sets me up already to have a little bit of, something that I've been successful at, and that kind of gives me motivation to get other stuff done throughout my day. So a few things that you might just need to have nearby to make yourself a bit more comfortable through the session, or maybe a few cushions, whatever you have, like a little pillows would work too. You might just want to go and grab a few of those. And a chair. I have a little IKEA fold-up chair that I'm going to use. If you have the edge of a sofa or something like that, that should work too. Just something that you can, that has a little bit of height to it would be really good. So the way that I have these sessions set out is they're going to be divided into 3 parts. So the first part's going to really focus on breath work, because that's one of the major principles of Pilates, and also one of these things that's really going to help with stress and anxiety and managing some of the negative impact that can have on your day, especially if you're kind of feeling like you're out of control a little bit of all the things that are happening in our current situation. So we'll start with some breath work, we'll move into some movement, and then we'll finish with some meditation. So if you've never done any meditation before, I want to set you up really well for that, and then we'll end with 5 minutes of silent meditation so you can really have an opportunity to clear your thoughts and prepare yourself for your week ahead. So welcome. Oh, hey, Julia. Thanks for joining me. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to have you lie down, so quite nice. It's like you're just going back to bed, but don't fall asleep. If you want a little cushion to put underneath your head just to make you more comfortable, that might be nice. And we're going to start with our breath work here. So just beginning to take a few breaths in through the nose and out through the open mouth. I'm not going to change anything yet. You just want to notice what your breath is like today. This is a really good opportunity right now to just put any thoughts aside that you might have about the rest of the day or the rest of the week. I know for me, there's the elections coming up, and I really don't want to think about that at this moment in time. So I'm going to push that out of my mind for now and just focus and settle in on my body and my breath. What's going on with me today? So some things that you might notice for yourself is where your breath is settled. Is it in your chest? Is it just kind of quite shallow? Or is it going a little bit deeper into your body? Just be aware of that for yourself. Maybe just noticing as well whether it's more at the front of your body or more at the back of your body, just kind of tuning in and being aware. And if you really start listening to your breath, you might just notice that it sounds a little bit like the ocean and a little bit like waves crashing on a beach. So you might just imagine as you're lying here, maybe you want to close your eyes, that you're being just carried buoyantly on some waves in a lovely warm body of water. So as you're breathing, you're just following this natural pattern, this natural rhythm of the water around you. Feeling the warmth envelop you and just feeling really easy in all of these little breaths that you're taking. We're just going to start to gently move the pelvis. So you can place your hands on your pelvis if you're kind of brand new to this sort of thing. You're going to start to tip your pelvis away from you with your inhale, and then exhale and tip it back towards you. So inhaling away, and then exhaling the pelvis back towards you. You can make this movement quite big to start with, so you're really feeling an arch through your lower back as you breathe in, and as you exhale, you're completely flattening out that arch. Just make sure it's not bringing any pain or discomfort for you here, so you're moving within a range that feels good for you. Just noticing, again, if your breath can come a little bit deeper as you're inhaling your pelvis away, and then exhaling out. So your waves are quite big, they're crashing. And we're going to start to make it a little bit smaller. So begin to just make that movement a tiny bit smaller so that you can just begin to settle back into that buoyant sense of water supporting you beneath you. And then just come to barely any movement. And you're going to settle there for a moment and really start to think about breathing into the back of the body now. Now that you've got a sense of where your pelvis is in space, you're just going to allow the whole of the back of the body to spread into the mat with these couple of breaths. And then just beginning to roll over onto the side. We're now going to move into the side body for some breath. Morning, Rod. Nice to see you. I like to take my cushion and I like to fold it in half so that I can spread my arm along the floor and place my head onto a cushion. So now you're really getting a sense of all these ribs that are along the floor. And we're just going to start to take some breaths into this side of the body. So really feeling that as you're settling here into the mat, you're creating a little bit more space. And just placing the hand onto the top hip, we're going to do a little bit of movement of the pelvis again. This time you're pushing the hip away from you and then drawing it back towards yourself. So a few little movements like this. Having a deep exhalation as you send the pelvis away, and then breathing in as you bring the hip back towards you. So nice big deep breath in, and then exhale to send it away. So what we're doing is creating lots of length as you bring the hip towards you. You should feel this side getting longer, and then as you exhale, it just gets a little bit shorter as you send the top hip away from you. A few little movements like that. And hopefully you're beginning to feel a little bit more space underneath that armpit. If this feels like too much for the hand or the arm, you can always just fold the arm and make that more comfortable for you. But I quite like having that length underneath the whole side. And then just settle there for a moment. Take another just couple of breaths into that side. And we're going to roll over onto your front. So no cushion for this one. Just place that to the side if you were using one. You're going to put one hand, stack it on top of the other, and place your forehead down onto it. You're going to leave your forehead there. I'm going to roll mine to the side so that you can hear me speaking. When But what you really want to do here is now start to let the front of your body just settle and relax into the mat. So we felt the back of our body, you felt the side, one side of your body. Now we're really starting to be aware of the front of the body just settling in. And if you want to have a little rock side to side of the pelvis, you might just feel that you can completely let go of your head and your neck muscles, so that maybe you can start to wrinkle out some of those little lines of worry that we get onto our forehead. Just let the forehead be heavy and feel like you can give yourself a little massage with your hands. Just heavy forehead onto the hands as your pelvis rocks gently side to side. You're still taking those lovely deep breaths, still listening in, sounding, hearing the breath sounding like the ocean, with those waves crashing. And then from here, you're just going to start to bend the knees to bring your heels in towards you, and then send the feet away. So you're bringing them in, and then you're sending them away. So you're going to take a big deep breath in as you're sending the feet away, and you're going to exhale as you bring those legs towards you. Just doing that a couple of times. And then we're going to start to go around into a circle. So you're going to take a big deep breath in to send those legs away, bring them around into a circle towards your bum, and then around to the other side. So just circling a few times in one direction, feeling how that affects the front of your pelvis, just circling around, and then take it back around the other way. Just breathing. Feeling that breath, especially into the front of the body. Last couple of times, going around, and then straightening the legs out, taking just a couple of breaths here. And then bringing yourself up, and we'll go over to the other side. So I'm just going to flip around to the other side of my mat. I'm going to take my cushion, I lay my arm out, place my head onto the cushion, onto my arm, and just again feel this whole side lengthening out with a few deep breaths in. And exhaling through your open mouth. And then beginning that little movement of the pelvis. So you're rocking your top hip towards you, and then you're sending it away. And again, just keep this movement in a range that really feels good and nourishing to your body this morning. This side feels quite different for me. I can tell I'm a little bit tighter through my top left shoulder. So I might keep these movements a little bit smaller, just to kind of really feel that it's more about the length through this side than it is about making any big movements. So you're going to inhale as you bring the hip towards you, and then exhale to send it away. Just a couple more times like that. And then just settling in to take a few breaths into that side. Marvelous. And then we'll come up to just seated for a moment. Taking hold of your chair. I've got mine nearby. Hopefully you've got yours nearby too. I'm going to place it at one end of my mat. But just settle in and kind of notice what your breath is like after doing that really opening of the front, the back, and the sides of the body. Hopefully now you feel like your breath is a little bit three-dimensional as we move into the movement part of the this session. I'm going to have you come into a little kneeling position in front of your chair. Just going to take your knees and really settle them into the ground and grow nice and tall here so that you can really feel the crown of the head reaching towards the ceiling. And you're going to begin to nod your head forward. Reach your arms forward so that they settle onto the chair. And what you can do here, you can bring your elbows to rest onto the chair and have your forehead resting there. If you want a little bit more stretch for your armpits, you can move a little bit away and have your arms out really long. So we have this long straight line of the back, and you're taking a few three-dimensional breaths here. So into the front, into the sides, and into the back of the body. Then you're just going to start the same little movement of the pelvis. So you're tipping your pelvis away, and then you're tipping it back towards you. So your tailbone tips down towards the mat, and then it tips up towards the ceiling. So notice it's not the rest of my spine that's really doing much movement. It's just the pelvis here. So just a little tip of the pelvis as you're breathing. Really feeling, again, that breath is lengthening out the sides of the body, feeling out the front of your chest and your front ribs, and also filling in the space between the shoulder blades. So nice and three-dimensional here. And then what's going to happen here, you're going to leave your pelvis in a little untuck. So you're pointing the tailbone up towards the ceiling, and you're going to start to just lean back a little bit. So you're getting this nice long stretch through the back of the body, and then coming back forward. So you might bring yourself up onto your hands a little bit more so that you can really start to just have a little stretch of the muscles all around the pelvis. You're coming forward, and then you're going back. So having the chair here is a nice little modification. If there's anything going on with your wrists, it just takes any pressure off of doing this in a 4-point kneeling position. So quite nice to just feel that movement. Nice big stretch. And then I'm going to take my chair out of the way, but you are welcome to keep using it. We are going to come into a 4-point kneeling position now. And just find your neutral position of your spine. So you're not tucking your pelvis under, and you're not sticking it up towards the ceiling. You're just bringing it into a nice neutral position. And if it feels good for you, you're going to start doing the same thing. So this time we're in our neutral position. What you can play around with is having your knees a bit wider and your toes coming in, which just gives you a little bit deeper of a stretch into the pelvis. Or the other alternative is turning your knees in and having your feet out. And this one is a little bit more challenging for me, but I know that there's probably some muscles that need stretching out, so it's probably a good position for me to be doing this in. So whatever works for you, you can keep your knees in parallel and your legs in parallel, or you can turn them in or turn them out. Whatever is feeling good. Just make sure your wrists are also feeling okay. Again, you can use that chair for a modification if you need to. So a few more like that. Maybe make some circles around your wrist joints and your hip joints, just feeling a bit of movement, a bit of lubrication for those joints. And then after just a few more movements around, we're going to come back to center and come back to that neutral position, and you're going to start to extend one leg behind you, lift it up, take it over your other leg, and just have a little stretch over to that side. So just getting a nice stretch onto this outer hip, into however far feels good for you. Trying to keep your weight not too much onto the other hand, so just evening yourself out a little bit if you need to. Get that stretch. Get that lovely bit of waking up the joints. You can have a little bit of movement through your heel on that leg that's long. Might feel quite nice just to give you a few different little stretches through that side. You will lift that leg up, bring it back to the center, get long through the other side, bring it up and over, and have a little stretch through the other hip. Little pump through the heel, if that feels good for you. Just getting some of that blood circulating through the body. And then lift that up, bring it back. Have a little stretch back into your child's pose for a moment. Another good opportunity to really breathe into the back of the body. And then bringing yourself up out of that child's pose, we're just going to have the chair nearby again for a little bit of a side stretch. So this one's going to be in kneeling. And one hand onto the chair. Send your knees down into the floor, head up again. Arms going to come up and over the head, and you're going to have a little stretch over. So a few deep breaths in to these ribs that are exposed to the wall on the other side of the room. Make sure you haven't collapsed down through your hips, so you're still sending your hips forward to the front of the room. Taking some lovely deep breaths. If it feels good for you, you can add in a little bit of rotation. Again, make sure you're not collapsing through these hips. They're staying facing directly forward as you rotate just a little bit forward. And then come up and out of that. And we'll move over to the other side. So hand placed onto the chair. Make sure you have enough space between you and the chair so that you can lift that other arm up. Come up and over. Keep those hips reaching towards the front of the room. Keep your head in line with the spine. And just take a few breaths into this side. Add in that little rotation if that feels good or nourishing for you. And then coming back to center, back, up, and moving your chair out of your way. This time we're done for it. Done with the chair. So you can again come to just seated on your mat. Now, moving into this meditation part of this session, I like to have a few cushions that I place underneath my knees, and sometimes I like to sit on a few as well. So this is the point at which you want to make yourself really, really comfortable in a seated position, and that might mean that you actually want to sit on top of your chair. There's nothing wrong with that. The most important thing is that now you can make yourself as comfortable as possible here just in a seated position. So once you've kind of settled into your mat once more, we're just going to start to close the eyes. And again, focus in on the breath. And I want you to especially focus in on one particular side of your nose where the breath is entering with your inhale and exiting with your exhale. Now we're going to try as much as possible to breathe through the nose. Just feel your body sinking and settling into this space around you. We're going to do a little body scan just to make sure you're not holding on to any tension through any muscles in any part of the body. So we're going to start at the very crown of the head, and you're just going to allow relaxation to come into any of those muscles at the crown of the head that might be holding on to tension. And then just allowing the muscles to relax around the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth and the jaw. Allowing any muscles that might be holding on to tension around the temples, the ears, and the sides of the throat. Any tension that might be holding on, allow it to just start to melt away through the back of the head. All those muscles and bones that hold the structure of our skull can just start to relax. Muscles through the back of the throat, back of the neck, through the shoulders, everything there. There's this tension that gets held between our shoulder blades. Can you just allow that to begin to release and relax? Down through the tops of the arms, the elbows, the forearms, and the hands. And then allowing just the whole of the torso to relax through the chest, the upper back, the mid back, the lower back. All those muscles through the abdomen, into the belly. All the organs can just take a little holiday for a moment so that you can just completely relax, allowing the muscles of the buttocks to just sink and settle into the floor to support you. Muscles of the thighs relaxing, the knees, the lower legs, and the feet. And what I want you to do for the next 5 minutes is just take a little holiday from any thoughts so that you can spend 5 minutes focusing on your breath. I'm going to set my little timer, and it's going to be for 5 minutes of silence. We're going to begin that 5 minutes now. So slowly just starting to bring your awareness back into the room around you. Maybe just allowing your fingers to feel any textures around you, moving the wrists, giving them a little circle around. Maybe giving the shoulders a little shrug up towards the ears, and then opening the eyes. Well, thank you guys very much for joining me today. Let me know how you got on with any of that. If you have any comments or suggestions, anything that you want to see out of the next 29 days, let me know. And I will see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Hopefully you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you then. Thanks, guys.